I will jump straight into our chat about your incredible new record, The Unraveling of Pup the Band, a fucking just mentally brutalizing roller coaster ride of a record.
Yeah.
I mean, especially after how fucked the past couple of years have been, I take it you're all pretty keen to get some new music out there in the world.
Yeah, I think we were really lucky in that just the way things kind of shook out. Um, a lot of our touring was done in terms of Morbid stuff, and obviously we had to cancel some things, including coming to Australia. But like, um, we kind of decided like, okay, well, we can just write music. That was all sort of we were able to do, and that's what we did. And I don't want to focus too much on the pandemic because I feel like everyone's been pretty bummed out about it. But yeah, like I think part and parcel with that is just sort of us realizing that 4 records in, or 3 at the time when we started writing, kind of 3 records in, it was kind of an if not now when type moment in terms of like taking some different kind of risks and sort of just like trying to expand in a way that felt true to kind of who we are as a band, and I think we did that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of shit on this record that I think like a lot of pub fans aren't going to be expecting. Like you've got synths, drum machines, horns. Like the big running joke with 4 chords is that you've got Stefan doing this grand piano ballad thing. What was it like to experiment with the sonic palette a little more on this record?
I think it was the kind of thing that sort of obviously we were conscious of it insofar as we knew we didn't want to make a record the same way. So whether that came with trying to be a little bit more experimental in the demoing process and being like, okay, yeah, Zach, you want to try an 808 idea on like a song like Habits? Like, go for it. Why not? Like, who cares, right? Like, we're demoing, nothing matters in a demoing process other than like trying to write good songs. So let's go for it, right? And as we started to do that, we started to just kind of realize like it kind of expanded the palette of the band in a very kind of natural way. Like, I don't think it was the kind of thing that felt forced. That was the thing that was so interesting in kind of doing that. It's like we didn't really set out to accomplish anything other than just kind of trying things. And then in the case of like 4 chords, that was one of the last songs that Stefan wrote before we went to the studio. And the email, like he sent the demo just like an MP3 over email to us. And the subject line of the email was like a funny song for my friends,
Yeah.
So it really was like that casual. It was just sort of a like kind of following creative energy and just sort of like acting as sort of like a mutual support system when anyone wanted to try things. Because I don't know, it just sort of felt like, over the course of the 3 records, I think as our songwriting has gotten, I mean, better is obviously like a subjective term, but it feels like we have become better in kind of doing the thing that PUP was for those 3 records. And Morbid Stuff was sort of the sort of like logical conclusion of that. It felt like in a lot of ways. And we just sort of started to realize that like what makes PUP is the 4 of us. And there's like kind of 4 distinct personalities that those kinds of like perspectives brought by those personalities are what make the band. And it doesn't have to just be 2 really loud guitars and a bass and a drummer trying to get over and all of us kind of shouting.
Yeah.
Like not that that's bad. I still think that that's something we do and love to do and will continue to do, especially in the live show. But it was an interesting kind of thing to realize, I guess.
Well, I think it's just necessary to, like, I'll be totally honest, this isn't my favorite pop record, but I think if you'd done another Morbid Stuff or another Dream Is Over, it would kind of suck a little bit by default.
This is it, right? And it's kind of like, it's the sort of thing where like, I think for a lot of people, it might not be their favorite record. And I think for a lot of people, it might be their favorite. Like, that's sort of the interesting thing is like, I think if it's going to elicit a response, then that's what you want to do. And it's a snapshot. I think like, the more I kind of think about making records and the more I think about listening to records, the more willing I am to kind of go on the journey with the artist that I'm listening to. You know, like I think of just that, like I don't want Camp Cope to make another record that sounds like How to Socialize and Make Friends. You know what I mean? Like they already made that record. If I want to
Yeah.
listen to that record, I can listen to it. And I kind of feel the same for us, or even like, you know, and any band, a band like the Arcade Fire, you know, a rapper like Earl Sweatshirt, you know, whose records I think are just such an, every time he puts something out, it's like the first thing I listen to on a new release day, you know. And not that I think we're in at all on the same level, but I just think it's a good way to kind of think about listening to music and think about artists you love, both as a listener and as a kind of a person who has the privilege of like making music and putting out music. Like it's a journey, and I think that to me is more exciting than like any one record.
Well, I guess as far as that songwriting dynamic goes, like I am kind of curious. After 3 albums and an EP, does it kind of just get harder to write good shit with the same arsenal of like riffs and stylistic quirks anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing, you know, Stefan has kind of talked about this both to us and sort of while we've been on interviews together, and you know, he's kind of the lyricist and generates a lot of the kind of melodic content, but I think, you know, I think we've really been working on craft, like the craft of songwriting, I think more and more. And so that becomes, there's like a focus to that that's a little bit more, how do like almost like, not ephemeral, but like, it's harder to pin down. Like working at the craft is harder to pin down than kind of being like, because it's not as formulaic. It's not like oh, here's the riff and here's the verse and the verse is kind of whatever, and then here's the huge chorus and then the gang vocal part and the bridge is kind of a guitar solo. You know, it's like that's all stuff that we do and have kind of done in the past, and I think on this one it really tried to kind of have songs a little bit more prepared or like ready from a song. Like if you had to sit down and sing them with an acoustic guitar, you could do that, and then from there the arranging, and I know it sounds kind of like it's like a very kind of a strange thing to sort of parse or like you know, but you just kind of keep going. I don't think there's there's no magic to it really. Like I think it's just work. It's just a day at a time. You know, I think a song like Matilda kind of deals with some of that, both from a kind of a lyrical perspective and I think it's just kind of like an interesting sort of song in that regard. Like it kind of works as a song if you wanted to play it on an acoustic guitar, but yeah, no, our thing has always been just to kind of keep a very sort of measured pace working on songs, and that I don't know, that has been kind of a comfortable way to sort of go back to the well, I guess.
I'm glad you mentioned Matilda because I think that is like, as far as song structure goes, that has to be the cornerstone of the record. Because you know you've got it's I don't know, the way that like the verse is very aggressive and then it kind of dips into that more melodic. I don't know if that's
Yeah, it's sort of, there's like it's funny, you know, it's something I've been wrestling with in kind of working on performing it live too, where, you know, I'm so used to kind of as a guitar player, like there's especially kind of in PUP, it's about loud, distorted, and kind of fuzzy tones, right? And it's been sort of an interesting way of negotiating how to make sure that there's energy and intention coming across in a part of a song that is very kind of like clean and sort of the emphasis is on melody, and it's not about kind of like intensive, like it's like a like almost, you know, I don't know, it makes me kind of appreciate stuff like the Talking Heads in a different way, where you're like, there is sort of this kind of like punky or kind of thing going on, but it's all very clean. It's not like super distorted. and just kind of trying to think and figure out how to do that and how to kind of communicate that same energy and intensity has been fun. And yeah, I think Matilda, like, you know, I think even just something as sort of like subtle as that, it was a big kind of reason why working with Peter, and being in that house and kind of being able to kind of tinker for 5 weeks, and not really leave and kind of just be working all the time. That was kind of a fun way to sort of pull apart these songs and kind of rebuild them a little bit more, I don't know, atypically, I suppose.
Oh yeah. What was the most gratifying song to record for Unraveling? Like, is there a particular track on this record that you look at and you go, yeah, I'm so fucking stoked we pulled that off?
Yeah, I think Pup the Band Inc. is filing for bankruptcy. Like, the none of that kind of, and you know, I do think it's a perfect kind of exclamation mark to end the record, both from kind of a lyrical perspective and sort of somehow it sounds like the band, but also is like a completely ridiculous sort of like snapshot of the entire process, where it was like, Zach just said out loud that the like solo should be like a skronk saxophone freak out. And I think where in the past, like, we might have found ourselves either in kind of a pressure cooker or like a crunch time scenario making a record, or like been kind of not as confident in like our own creative decision making because we were younger, or we expected the band to be a specific kind of way. You know, we might have said no. Instead, it was like a yes. I was like, oh, I know a saxophone player who can do exactly that. He's awesome, like whatever. And I sent him an email like right then and was like, hey, you know, his name's Colin. I was like, hey, Colin, here's the idea. Here's what we need you to do. It's like 12 bars or however many bars it was. And then Seven was like, yeah, and it's totally fine that this like insane like post-punk saxophone thing goes into the like very earnest lyrics about not wanting to be anywhere else in the world than with your best friends, even if your best friends are all fucked. Like, with a strumming acoustic guitar, and it sounds like a kitchen party. Like, and it's this weird, like, kind of strange, heavy kind of, but not. I don't know. It just like, and it all kind of just worked out, you know. And I don't know. That to me feels like, I remember singing all those parts in that song and just kind of feeling like, hey, wait a second, we have actually made something here. There is kind of a statement of the band's intent that feels right.
Well, it's like what you were saying earlier about how like pop at its core is it's the four of you. It's like, you know, like I was reading about how some of the vocals for Robot Rats a Love Song were tracked in the backseat of Stefan's car. And it's like shit like that. It's like, it's pop, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I think it if nothing else, this is just sort of like, you know, in a lot of ways feels like it could be one of the most like pup records that doesn't feel like maybe like, you know, like you said, it could not be everyone's favorite. It might not even be your favorite, or like maybe it demands like a little bit more attention, because it's just like, it starts with a piano, and you know, there's a lot of stuff here that is, it could be off-putting to people. And I think we're all kind of fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if it's a cop out to compare it, but it reminds me of like David Bowie's 80s shit, where it's like no hardcore David Bowie fan will say that his 80s shit is their favorite, but it's so crucial to this discography because it's so interesting and so like Experimentation is sick. Like I think this record for me personally is kind of polarizing as a pop fan, but I can appreciate just how, I don't know, how like everything we've been talking about, like the experimentation and how fun it would have been to just fuck around with different shit. Like it has its place.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I think there's something in our kind of like recognizing, you know, there's obviously quite a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff in sort of the melodies and the lyrics and kind of ways in which we have chosen to orchestrate things. And, you know, I think we're sort of at that point, and Stefan has talked about it. We've talked about it in private, you know, where the band, for better and for worse, is a business. Like just insofar as like we have to consider something like insurance, right? Insurance, especially now, like we actually have to think about that. And like this is still four guys who got together to drink beer and write songs. And so the fact that we have to like even consider something like corporate insurance feels wrong or feels fake, right? It feels like a joke. And I think this record was a way in which we could kind of not abandon that side of things, but really kind of take as much of a kind of like take that sense of humor that we kind of try and have in all of our records and all of our music and apply it both to ourselves and to the kind of absurdity of the situation that we found ourselves in. And I don't know, I think that alone has been kind of a sort of freeing way of thinking about where the band's at and just how things kind of are for us. And you know, I don't know, you know, and I hope people understand that. I hope people hear it and kind of get it, you know.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, like, this is such a cliche thing, but that's the record, right? It's the unraveling of PUP the band. It's like the meta shit has always been such a huge part of PUP. If this tour doesn't kill you, I will. Full-blown meltdown. But like this is like you guys have just gone full steam ahead on that. And that's what I fucking love about this record.
Well, I appreciate that, you know. I think, and I do think that was just sort of the thing. It's like we kept kind of being like, if not now, when, right? If not, why would we make the same record again? Why, nobody wants Morbid Stuff too, you know, as you kind of said. It's like I'd rather take the swing and take the chance and take, you know, be up to a challenge that we set for ourselves and hope that people at least see that we are not interested in just kind of sitting back and cranking out another record that sounds like the other three that we've made.
Yeah.
Because we just aren't. Like, we're not that kind of group of dudes, and we're not so self-serious as to think that every statement we make or everything we do should be so serious all the time, you know. I think the last thing that anybody needs is for straight white dudes talking so deeply about how important everything they make is. Like, I think we want to prioritize having a good time and trying to, you know, make each other laugh and make the audience laugh and just kind of understand that we never expected it to come this far. And the thing that people seem to connect with for us is the four of us being ourselves and just kind of being regular people who do this because they love it. Yeah, I don't know, you know.
I love that ethos. And I will wrap it up here. I cannot wait to get my hands on my physical copy of Unraveling. Cannot fucking wait to see you guys here for Splendor, 2 side shows. And I wish you guys the best of luck. Dude.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting to be coming back. And Splendor obviously is a big festival, and hopefully we'll be able to do a few things. I know we're kind of trying to plan some stuff both in Australia and kind of elsewhere. So, you know, just keep an eye out and hopefully we can meet in real life.
Hell yeah, that would be a dream. For right now, on. Have a good one, man. Take care.
You too. Take care. Thanks again.
Cheers, man. See ya.
Okay.